Welcome, my name is Dr. Douglas Wingate, Integrative Neurorehabilitation Specialist. This video is going to be a little different from others in the series. Rather than addressing a single diagnosed condition, this one is for anyone wanting to increase or optimize their cognitive potential. Whether that's being impacted by a clinical condition, the effects of stress or burnout, aging, post-illness recovery, or simply the desire to perform at a higher level. Neurogen brain balancing addresses cognitive optimization across a full spectrum, from clinical impairment to everyday performance. Cognitive difficulties are far more common than people realize, and they exist on a wide spectrum that doesn't map neatly onto a single diagnosis. Professionals and executives often experience mental fatigue, reduced processing speed, and decision-making difficulties. That stress of operating below capacity despite no identifiable illness. Students and academic performers may struggle with maintaining attention, slow information processing, poor working memory, and test anxiety, all conditions with measurable EEG correlates. Athletes and high performers seek gains in reaction time, spatial awareness, anticipatory processing, and mental resilience under pressure, all domains where EEG-guided brain training has produced documented results. Aging adults notice memory slippage, slower processing, and reduced mental sharpness, patterns that neuromodulation can meaningfully support. Many post-illness or post-COVID are dealing with brain fog, attentional disruption, and cognitive fatigue, where EEG abnormalities are now well documented. In clinical populations, including ADHD, cognitive sequelae of post-TBI, post-stroke cognition, and neurodivergent individuals round out the picture. Neurogen addresses all of these through the same core mechanism, EEG-guided oscillatory regulation. Poor focus, slow thinking, and memory gaps are not personal failures. They are measurable patterns in the brain's electrical activity, and when we look at the EEG research clearly, 6 specific signatures begin to emerge. First, excess resting theta in the 4 to 8 Hz range. This is one of the most consistently replicated findings in cognitive neuroscience. Higher resting state theta power is associated with lower executive functioning, attentional ability, working memory, language skills, and IQ. The brain here is stuck in a slow wave idle state, prone to mind wandering and distraction. Second, a reduced or slowed peak alpha frequency. Alpha frequency slows with cognitive aging and impairment. A lower peak alpha frequency and reduced alpha power predict poorer working memory, attentional control, and processing speed. Alpha is the brain's transition rhythm between idle and ready. Third, deficient gamma coupling in the 30 to 80 Hz range. Gamma oscillations coordinate activity across brain networks during high-level cognitive processing. Reduced gamma in the prefrontal temporal circuit underlies attentional instability and working memory problems. Fourth, a disrupted frontal midline theta regulation. Frontal midline theta has been called the neural working language of executive function, supporting memory updating, mental set shifting, conflict monitoring, and sustained effort. When this circuit is dysregulated, executive performance suffers broadly. Fifth, elevated resting beta activity, excess mental noise. High beta overdrive in frontal areas reflects a brain in overdrive. Chronic rumination and stress reactivity starts to generate cognitive noise that competes with productive focused thought, and it contributes to mental fatigue. And sixth, an elevated theta-alpha ratio. More slow wave activity relative to alpha is a quantitative EEG marker of cognitive impairment, aging-related decline, and post-illness brain fog. Before we discuss how Neurogen targets dysfunction, it's worth establishing what we're aiming toward, because the goal is not a single better brain state, but rather a balance and flexibility and the right rhythm for the right task. Alpha wave activity in the 8 to 12 Hz range is the ready state, calm, alert, and receptive. Strong resting alpha predicts cognitive flexibility and the ability to shift fluidly between focus and recovery. Theta frequencies in the 8 to 10 Hz range has a dual role. When it's dysregulated at rest, it impairs cognition, but when it's properly regulated during a task, frontal midline theta supports working memory loading, executive function, and creative insight, and that distinction is important. Beta frequencies in the 13 to 30 Hz range, when well regulated without the noise of excess, supports active cognitive engagement, language processing, and logical reasoning. Gamma frequencies coordinate information across brain networks and underpins conscious awareness, working memory, and complex pattern recognition. The key to all of it is balance and coherence. No single frequency dominates in optimal cognition. The hallmark is flexibility, fluid transitions between states, and strong coherence within the relevant networks for the task at hand. That is precisely what Neurogen supports. Neurogen brain balancing is described in the peer-reviewed literature as a novel, passive, non-invasive neurobiomodulation modality for brain health. 4 features make it particularly well-suited for cognitive optimization. First, it's fully passive. No active tasks, no cognitive strain, no screen time. Clients rest while the brain receives and responds, removing the effort barrier that makes most cognitive training programs difficult to sustain consistently. Second, real-time EEG guidance. Live brainwave data is analyzed every session. Excess theta burden, peak alpha frequency, network coherence, and beta-gamma ratios are all assessed and addressed in real time. Third, lip test microcurrent signaling provides a gentle reference that supports the brain's own tendency toward the balanced oscillatory states that underline optimal performance. And fourth, uniquely relevant for cognitive optimization, Neurogen adapts to your brain today. No 2 sessions are identical. Cognition fluctuates with sleep, stress, and daily demands, and Neurogen meets the brain where it is in each session and works from there. Now we'll map major cognitive EEG disruptions to a corresponding Neurogen effect. With excess resting theta, the slow wave idle state, this is addressed by Neurogen's documented ability to reduce pathological slow wave activity, shifting the brain from foggy toward the alpha-ready state associated with cognitive readiness. Reduced peak alpha frequency responds to Neurogen's support for restoration of faster, more reactive alpha rhythms, linked to improved processing speed, attention control, and working memory. Deficient frontal midline theta regulation is supported through EEG-guided protocol calibration, working to restore the frontal midline theta circuit that serves as the neural substrate for memory updating, set shifting, and executive control. Excessive beta overdrive, that mental noise, is reduced through neuromodulation's quieting of pathological high beta, clearing the static that competes with productive focus and contributes to fatigue. Poor prefrontal network coherence is addressed by supporting functional connectivity restoration between the prefrontal, parietal, and temporal networks. And the elevated theta-alpha ratio, the quantitative EEG marker of cognitive impairment, is directly targeted through the same oscillatory rebalancing mechanisms. Let me make this concrete across 4 domains. For focus and brain fog, Neurogen reduces slow-wave idle activity, supports faster alpha engagement, and clears the electrical static that produces the foggy, scattered feeling that so many people and high performers describe. This has been documented in post-traumatic brain injury populations, post-illness recovery, ADHD, and healthy high-performance contexts. For memory, Neurogen supports frontal midline theta regulation for working memory, restores peak alpha frequency linked to encoding and recall, and normalizes the theta-alpha balance that is a key predictor of memory function. Multiple controlled studies confirm that alpha neurofeedback training, the mechanism that Neurogen employs, produces significant improvements in working memory. For executive function, frontal midline theta is the neural substrate of executive control. Neurogen targets prefrontal subcortical connectivity supporting planning, inhibition, and cognitive flexibility. This is relevant to ADHD, traumatic brain injury, age-related executive slippage, and anyone in a high-demand professional context. For academic and athletic performance, reaction time and spatial processing improve with sensory motor rhythm training. Sustained attention gains are documented in controlled neurofeedback research. Mental resilience under pressure, the ability to regulate arousal and stress reactivity on demand, is directly addressed. Neurogen is being used by high performers seeking a measurable, drug-free cognitive edge. The evidence base for EEG-guided cognitive optimization is substantial and growing rapidly. A comprehensive review in Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews found that EEG neurofeedback in healthy participants produced gains in sustained attention, executive attention, memory, complex psychomotor skills, recognition memory, and intelligence, with alpha and theta protocols showing the most consistent improvements. Multiple controlled studies confirm alpha neurofeedback training produces significant improvements in working memory. Training to enhance upper alpha spectral power is associated with improved cognitive performance across multiple populations. And notably, even a single session of more than 20 minutes can improve working memory, an effect that accumulates meaningfully over a course of sessions. Frontal midline theta has been established as the neural language of executive functioning. Self-regulation of frontal midline theta improves memory updating, mental set shifting, conflict monitoring, and motor inhibition in controlled research. And theta power at rest inversely correlates with executive function, IQ, and working memory across independent studies. And in the Neurogen-specific veteran cohort published by Drs. Cassian and Turetsky in 2025, cognitive dysfunction and brain fog were among the most commonly reported improvements, alongside mood, sleep, and pain, in a population where 80% reported meaningful gains after just 4 sessions. The candidate list for cognitive optimization is intentionally broad, because areas where cognitive performance could benefit are everywhere. Strong candidates include anyone experiencing brain fog, mental fatigue, or cognitive slowing for any reason. Students seeking academic performance improvements, professionals managing high cognitive demand, burnout, or career transitions, athletes seeking reaction time and focus optimization, adults noticing age-related cognitive changes, those recovering from COVID or other illness-related cognitive symptoms, clinical populations including ADHD, traumatic brain injury, and post-stroke, and anyone who simply wants to operate closer to their cognitive ceiling. Some key considerations: the standard contraindications apply. Active seizure disorder, implanted electrical devices, and severe acute psychiatric crisis all require consultation or clearance before proceeding. Neurogen is a complement to neurological and psychiatric evaluation, and not a replacement. It works well alongside therapy, medication, and lifestyle optimization for all ages. And results are cumulative. A series of sessions produces greater and more durable gains than any single session as the brain progressively consolidates the brainwave rebalancing. The EEG signatures of cognitive underperformance, excess theta, slowed alpha, disrupted frontomedial theta, beta overdrive, and poor network coherence are not fixed features of who you are. They are dynamic electrical patterns that can be measured, targeted, and changed. To learn more about our integrative neurorehabilitation offerings, or to schedule a consultation or session, visit acuneuromodulation.com. Qualifying veterans can access 4 free sessions through our collaboration with the nonprofit organization bb4vets.org. The brain is capable of more. Let's unlock it.